We compete with creators even from a growth standpoint. TTT का monthly growth, Tanmay Bhatt का monthly growth, Kusha Kapila का monthly growth, and we have to beat them. So last month we beat pretty much all the top creators that you can think of. So ये जब मैंने Terribly Tiny Tales शुरू करा था, this was a personal project. And it's the only thing that has become a successful business. मतलब मैंने मेरे दोस्तों के वो बेबी शावर के SMSs लिखे हैं, मैंने रेज्यूमेस करेक्ट करे हैं, मैंने मेन्यू कार्ड्स लिखे हैं. नॉर्थ दिल्ली के रेस्टोरेंट्स के मेन्यू कार्ड्स में सारा पनीर जो था मैंने उसको कॉटेज चीज़ कर दिया. वो डिश थी 120 रुपए की, बट ओ हो सक्यूलेंट कॉटेज चीज एंड एरोमेटिक कोरिएंडर सीड्स. ही वाज लाइक कि कितना बनाते यार IIM वाले. लाइक यार स्टार्टिंग पैकेजेस 24 लाख, कभी 30 लाख. सो द गाय इज लाइक महीने के. आई वाज लाइक नहीं भाई साल के. तो ही वाज लाइक नहीं ये तो हम हफ्ते में निकाल लेते हैं.
So welcome once again. Give them a context as to who you are and why should they be listening to you, in your opinion?
You should be listening to me because you're here. You have no option. But hi guys, my name is Anuj. So good to meet all of you and thank you for taking out the time to be here. I run a company, a platform, some call it just a social media page. But there are more things. It's called Terribly Tiny Tales. I don't know if any of you have experienced it, seen it on Instagram, YouTube, somewhere. It's a strange name. When I started it, many people मेरे family में थे, they confused terribly for terrible. तो they were like, ये terrible tiny tales, क्यों negative चीज़ें क्यों शुरू कर रहे हो आप? News is negative enough, why more? But it took them a while to realize कि ये छोटी कहानियाँ हैं. These are this platform is a reflection of our times. Sadly, I don't know how many of you used to read but cannot read anymore. Is there any of you like that? There used to be a time when you could finish a book even if reluctantly, खत्म हो जाती थी, अब नहीं हो पाती. And so that was me as well. I used to love reading, and then suddenly I stopped reading, and then I was like, shit, ये तो problem है. And then I realized there are hundreds and thousands of people like me. And so that led to TTT.
So terribly tiny tales से लेके terribly tiny shorts और reels के ज़माने में हम आ चुके हैं. Anuj, how has this transformation been for you personally? Now that you see that the attention spans have further gone down.
Yeah, I mean the last recorded attention span of a human being, this was back in 2014, was 8 seconds. तो अभी तो पता नहीं क्या हालत हो चुकी है. I think maybe 3-4 seconds, right? Like वो रात को जब हम सो नहीं पाते हैं और वो I think it's half a second maybe. The rule with creating short format content is 3 seconds, right? If it does not hook you in 3 seconds, it's not good enough. It's sad, but it's true. As a business, we embrace it, we build around it. Personally, I'm not a big fan.
So talking about nostalgia, let me take you back to your childhood, your growing up days. You have always been a Bombay kid, I'm assuming. Do you think where we are born or raised has certain impacts on how we grow up and who we become?
Yeah, so I've always been a Bombay kid. I was born here in a suburb called Vile Parle and Gujarati family, and never imagined कि एक creative type industry में एक तो पता ही नहीं था कि उसमें पैसे बनते हैं. और मतलब it was like, you know, the notion is कि art तो हम
गुजराती और क्रिएटिव साइड बाय साइड जाते नहीं हैं.
टिपिकली नहीं जाते और रेफरेंस भी नहीं था फैमिली में. इट वाज लाइक आर्ट इज समथिंग यू बाय बट नॉट लाइक क्रिएट. तो वो रेफरेंस नहीं था. एंड आई ऑलवेज ग्रो अप विदाउट, मतलब आई वाज अ वेरी डे ड्रीमी टाइप ऑफ सिंगल चाइल्ड, राइट. सो बहुत समर वेकेशंस दोपहर को लाइक जस्ट बोर्डम में गुजारे हैं और बुक पढ़ के या जस्ट वो क्रिकेट अकेले, यू नो, ओवर आर्म सामने वॉल है और तुम बस खुद के साथ खेल रहे हो. तो आई हैड अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम टू माई सेल्फ कि कुछ था नहीं करने को. एंड सो दैट्स व्हाट ऑलवेज led my imagination to ड्रीम वर्ल्ड्स. ऑफ कोर्स आई नेवर थॉट कि ये करियर बनेगा, क्या बनेगा. यू नेवर नो राइट, चाइल्डहुड में क्या चीज़ें जो हमें पसंद है वो बड़े होके बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग इन्फ्लुएंस लेती है. You can't join the dots when you are in the moment, right? Like we don't know what this conversation will lead to 5 years from now for all of us, but hota hai kuch. And so, yeah, Bombay boy, and because of that, because of my cousins and everything, I just dove into ke chalo NM. What do
Another
90% of kids born in Vile Parla who are Gujarati do? वो लोग नरसी मंजी में कॉमर्स पढ़ते हैं और सीए या एमबीए की तैयारी करते हैं. तो गेस व्हाट, मैंने भी वही किया.
राइट एंड वहाँ आप बहुत सारे ऐसे लोगों से मिले probably जो आपके दोस्त बने एंड देन दे शेप्ड अप द आइडियाज दैट यू हैव हैड अबाउट life, career, learning, everything. Was that the time when you got interested with business in a big way, or अब तभी भी ऐसे passion projects बना रहे थे आप one or the other that you were working on?
Actually, passion projects कोई भी नहीं थे कॉलेज के टाइम. It was actually everyone was studying to be a chartered accountant or doing MBA, or in Narsi Manji there's a college festival called Umang. तो you were part of organizing that festival, या थोड़े clubs थे, road track club या वो. तो you could choose these three, or many students like Ankit Doshi, who's the founder of InsideIIM, who's also a very dear friend, college. We were in the same college. He would do all three of these, right? So CA भी करेंगे, MBA भी करेंगे, और उमंग के chairperson भी बनेंगे. I was not as ambitious, so I used to pick and I was not even so academically focused, which was a big problem कि यार सब लोग CA बन रहे पर मेरे को तो accountancy समझ में ही नहीं आती, और सब MBA कर रहे पर मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ मुझे नहीं पता. मैंने I never asked myself. It's just that everyone was doing it, so I was like, okay, मुझे भी करना है, क्योंकि और कोई path ही नहीं दिख रहा था. So I was academically pursuing very straight-jacketed things कि ये जो options है वही choose करने, because we don't know what else exists. There was no Konversations Cafe then, so parallelly I was a part of road track clubs, Umang. So I think that was my early experience के लोगों के साथ कुछ fun चीज़ करने में मुझे मज़ा आता है. I think that was my first experience of what a startup or a business can look like. Of course, when you do it, you realize कि वो एक अलग प्राणी है, startup. But I think one of the core things कि people coming together and building something, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Do you also think, and it might slightly sound personal, do you also think that your pursuit of creating something so personal came from your own place of loneliness while growing up?
I think if you notice, one broad pattern is that most founders tend to solve their own problems, right? कि या तो तुम एक बड़ा problem like Bhavish Agarwal and Ola, which is like, oh shit, मुझे book cab नहीं मिल रही है, I want to like solve that, and I was like मैं book नहीं पढ़ पा रहा हूँ, तो मुझे किताब छोटी करनी है, तो terribly tiny tale बन गई. In some sense, you're solving your personal problem. I think the odds of success in that are much higher. मैंने उसके पहले भी 2 startups करे, which were more like startup school होते हैं तो हम एक startup बनाते हैं, right? Because cool थे startups. But
what were those startups about?
So one was a startup called बहुत funny नाम है. It was called Customer. So it was like custom merchandise. तो मैंने उसको customer बना दिया because cool
domain
नाम.
name मिल गया था? Domain name मिल गया था?
Customer.co.in. .com नहीं था. So I was like कि हमारे colleges में like Harvard के T-shirts पहनते हैं, Stanford के पहनते हैं, but कोई नरसी मंजी नहीं पहनता है और कोई दालमिया कॉलेज नहीं पहनता है. I was like ये थोड़ा sad है यार. Like Indian colleges should also feel pride. There was another company run by a friend called Varun Agarwal, who started this company called Alma Mater. He's written this wonderful book also, how I braved Anu auntie to start a $1 million company. तो उसने वो शुरू करी थी, मैंने ये की थी. And we were trying to do कि corporate should have L&T and like cool merch. But I was never really passionate about it to the point कि वो मेरा problem नहीं था. I was like होना चाहिए, but मुझे खुद नहीं पहनना था नरसिम्हन जी का sweatshirt, to be honest. तो वो कहीं अटक गया. वो एक था. दूसरा था जो बहुत fun था, जो बहुत मजा आया, but heartbreaking that we couldn't build it. It was, do you guys know of this brand called Chumbak? एक चुंबक करके एक, there's travel cups and magnets and t-shirts, and now they do a lot, right? Like home furnish. तो उन्होंने basically क्या करा है, cool designs को pasted it on different products. There was another company called Ink Fruit, and ऐसे काफी सारे थे.
और बहुत महंगा बना दिया नॉर्मल से प्रोडक्ट.
हाँ, नॉर्मल के थोड़े अच्छे डिजाइन डाल के 100 रुपए की चीज को 800 में बेच दी. तो आई स्टार्टेड अ कंपनी कॉल बेचैन नगरी. तो रिएक्शन ऐसा ही था मेरे कजिन्स का भी कि ओ अनुज तू तूने पॉर्न साइट शुरू कर दी. यू आर परस्यूइंग योर चाइल्डहुड पैशंस. आई एम लाइक नो, इट्स नॉट अ पॉर्न साइट. बट हाँ, बेचैन नगरी was this place where creative people, so animators, illustrators could submit their designs, और उनके designs हम अलग अलग products पे डालते. तो हमने notebooks बनाए, t-shirts बनाए, and we used to set up stalls in colleges, so NID में, IIM में, हर जगह पे. That was great fun because I was like 21, 22, and so you don't care about, you want people to think क्या cool चीज़ बना रहे हो. Whether it's making money or not, you don't care. Whether it's even a smart business idea, you don't care. You just want validation. It was like Instagram followers without the digital bit. It was just like people should say, oh wow, this is awesome. तो वो करा, but I realized retail is a very, very hard business to build without enough capital, and I didn't know enough about the business side of things. I just knew कि मज़ा आता है design और बेचने में. But yeah, so that didn't unfortunately scale. It did grow to 12 cities and we did make some amount of money, but it didn't become that big, like you all don't know about it, but huh.
Again, maybe it was not that personal to you.
Yeah, possibly it was not again solving a problem. It was just like, that's the thing. एक होता है startup जो cool होता है कि हमें कोई एक idea आता है. And so idea-based startups are always hard क्योंकि ideas होते हैं ना कि हमें fit बनना है और वो एक आज का idea है और कल जाके हम भूल जाते हैं. तो it's a little bit like that. Like you want it today, but you don't want it 3 years from today. Problems are more personal. They stay for longer. कि नहीं यार ये तो मुझे irritate करता है कि मैं book नहीं पढ़ पा रहा हूँ. And it still irritates me in some ways. So those are, I can stay for 10 years doing this business because of that.
And things have not changed since you started Terribly Tiny Tales, I feel. Things have gotten worse and worse, and that's probably where we started our conversation as well. When you first started it, did you believe in the idea of Terribly Tiny Tales? Did you see that, ये social media page से business बन सकता है? Because that's something that a lot of social media pages don't convert into.
Yeah. No, so that's what I say. कि there's this wonderful quote that says that the early days of a startup should feel like a toy. कि ये एक कुछ चीज़ है जिसके साथ खेलने में मज़ा आ रहा है, and honestly it doesn't matter whether it becomes a business or not. So ये जब मैंने Terribly Tiny Tales शुरू करा था, I was running an ad agency on the side to make money. तो मेरा पैसा आ रहा था वो agency से. This was a personal project, and it's the only thing that has become a successful business because it was a personal project. So good startups also look like projects. They don't look like कि ये धंधा है. That is also a big learning. You don't set out with this Excel sheet. At least my learning, it might be contrarian, कि वो अगर personal project का shape हो तो chance of success becomes higher.
But Anuj, don't you think that in India, in a country that we are, free content देखने में हमें सबको बहुत मज़ा आता है. The moment you monetize that content or start putting blocks, even beyond that, it's premium content, it becomes hard for a lot of people to, monetize that content. And a lot of content creators have faced this dilemma, and I'm sure at some point you also have faced this problem. Does that ecosystem or economy work in India, in your opinion? Should there be more terribly tiny tales as startups, profit-making startups?
आप लोग सबसे मैं साल के 100 रुपए मांगू और आपको रोज एक टीटीडी मिलेगी.
Right.
दैट इज वन. द अदर इज आपको रोज 10 टीटीडी मिलेगी, बट द मनी इज कमिंग फ्रॉम अ ब्रांड, एंड सो देयर इज अ स्पॉन्सर, देयर इज जस्ट लाइक हाउ इन्फ्लुएंसर्स, यूट्यूबर्स, राइट? नो वन इज चार्जिंग यू मनी, बट एवरी नाउ एंड देन एक वो कोलैब पोस्ट आ जाता है और भुवन बाम और लेंस कार्ट आ जाता है, एंड so yeah, that's how we monetize, and that model is actually built for India, where disposable income is harder to shell for content, especially. यार हम Netflix को पैसे नहीं दे पा रहे. Imagine with that quality of content, they have what 3, 4, 5 million subscribers in a country of 140 crores. So I don't think paid is that big an opportunity unless you're going vernacular in a very different format like what Kuku FM and Pocket FM are doing. But video, I think, becomes very large when it's free. So YouTube is proof, right? And so content within this large media distribution arm, which is platforms like TTT, independent creators. पहले तो हमने page शुरू किया था. Now each one of you personally, individually, can become like terribly tiny tales, right? You can become a personal creator, independent creator, who happen also to be our biggest competitors.
Exactly where I was going to. I was going to ask you then, how do you look at these creators? Like morning में हमने एक creator से बात की, कुशल. Fortunately for you, he was from the finance domain. But you're now as a company competing with hundreds and hundreds of creators who are raking in millions of followers, right? Why will the companies who are brands will look at a company like you then?
It's a very good question. Two things: we compete with creators even from a growth standpoint, right? So when we do our review, we say, okay, TTT ka monthly growth, Tanmay Bhatt ka monthly growth, Kusha Kapila ka monthly growth, and we have to beat them. So that is one internal. So we are at 3.5 million followers on Instagram, and just last month we beat pretty much all the top creators that you can think of from a growth rate. So that is the internal benchmark. The other is one of the challenges that brands face with creators is that an independent creator endorses 15 brands. तुम भूल जाते हो by the 15th brand कि कौन से brands. रोज तुम्हें एक लगता है oh shit, ये collab post, नया collab post, नया, because they speak in their style, not in the brand style. So brand managers are increasingly feeling कि इसमें हमारे brand का color, positioning, tone, role सब dilute हो रहा है for distribution. Whereas what we're able to do as TTT is take everything in. We change our color, we change our look, we change our tone, we change the actors we cast. Everything becomes centric to the brand. So it's an ad storified so that it is engaging and so it works for the brands. That's the big difference. Where brands feel safe, they feel like, we're not becoming a different thing.
Has there been a moment, Anuj, in your life as an entrepreneur, building TTT, where you thought that, yaar, ab bas ho gaya, I can't carry on with this, things are just not working and I'm going to just quit?
हाँ, बस अभी टैक्सी में आ रहा था तभी फील हो.
I hope घर जाके आपका मन बदल जाए after this conversation.
Every day एक बार तो होता ही है. Yeah, who to lie, right? Like, it's so hard, it's so lonely, because I don't know if you all saw this meme of Ori and the relevance room. बहुत funny है. Coffee with Karan में उसका एक conversation था with Karan Johar where he talks about the relevance room, कि Ori का relevance room में कहाँ पे rank है, right? So in a content company, especially you feel like, shit, are you relevant? Are you cool? Because one of the metrics is coolness, right? Okay, oh, TTT was cool now. Like, even in the way you introduced, you said, I was a big fan. And so then in my head, I'm like, was bol diya? So you're always thinking of one, how to continue to build relevance. Second is it's a hard business because you're at one level serving consumers, but your money comes from businesses, and you have to please both. So it's not like B2B or just B2C where तुम लोग मुझे पैसे दे रहे हो और एक टेल ले रहे हो. Like Netflix's business that way is pretty clean. It's nice. के the consumer pays, they get content, great business. They don't have to sell ads, they don't have to sell branded. We don't even sell ads, we sell branded content. So it's harder. So it's a hard business, but it lets us tell stories with a lot of freedom. It allows us to have a large audience, like who, मतलब 5 million log hai across our platforms. That's a massive number of people we can impact every day. 10 years into the business, we are valued at, some $1 million. मतलब at 10 years ago, यार मैं रूम में से पंखे को देख रहा था और सोच रहा था कि 5,000 रुपए आ जाए तो बहुत सही होगा. तो I have to also build perspective, and when you do that, you're like, okay, yaar, you're being greedy now. You just need to show up. And one of the biggest compounding effects in money, career, life is showing up, right? कि तुम बस आते हो. रोज सुबह you just do the thing. And I think that has an insane effect. So yeah, I think about it, but I will not act in a foolhardy way.
नहीं यार was नहीं बोलना चाहिए था. I understand. But it's also important for you to understand where the trend is going. As you had said, being cool, being relevant is something that everyone probably struggles with. The creators that you probably mentioned, they are also constantly thinking how to pivot themselves so that they are relevant or trendy to the generation that they're catering to. And that's the nature of any business probably that you are in as well. अगर Ola electric में shift नहीं करता तो IPO नहीं कर पाते. That's as simple as that. So, in your opinion, if I have to ask you that you have built a business, now you have to pivot and go somewhere completely different, or else where you will make a lot of money but you have to compromise on the kind of things that you have built all these years. Would you have done that? Or would you do that?
I don't think we'll compromise on what we do. I think one of the things we care about is that we will always tell a story well. That's the thing you should expect from TTT. तुम अभी भी Instagram खोलो, YouTube खोलो और if you give us 10 seconds of your life, I promise you कि वो 10 second हम reward करेंगे. That will not change. I think what has changed is the infrastructure we are building around the business. So one of the things we are doing is हमने शुरू करा है TTT Academy, right? So if any of you feels like you all want to be a creator, right, of any kind, writer, video editor, production designer, graphic designer, there's so many creative careers. So we built TTT Academy, which is a path for all these careers, right? So something that I didn't have. When I was in college, I was like, I didn't know I could make money from this. But now, if you're in college, if you're graduating, I don't want this question to exist. Like, oh shit, मुझे Bombay आना पड़ेगा, struggle करना पड़ेगा, right? Like the idea of a creative career or a content career struggle, I think that is absolutely ridiculous today, because the amount of money many content creators are making independently and in companies, it's absolutely insane, right? So the idea that MBA or the notions that of a typical career is the only career that you have, I think usko question करने की बहुत ज़रूरत है, because this path is insane. So that is one. We're building TTT Academy. On the brand side, we are giving them the ability to tap into all this talent. We've got 10,000 incredible students out of the academy already. So now brands can either hire them or they can work with them through a platform. So we're not just a media company, we're also a agency, for the lack of a better word, but extremely productized. It's like it would be amazing where in the future that you can order a reel on an app, right? Like a brand like HUL can say, I need a reel for Valentine's Day. ये मेरे 4 criterias है, boom. And a TTT team comes and executes it for you. So we're building that pipeline, which I think will make us a much larger business, a much harder thing to do. Like actually buying a reel on your phone and executing it is damn hard, but now I think we're ready for hard problems.
There's a very lucrative segue for me to talk about future, but I'm not going to talk about future. I'm going to drag you 10 years back when you were lying on your bed and were looking at the fan.
हाँ.
और वो 5,000 रुपए जो आपको बनाने थे
इसके बाद थेरेपी के पैसे भी तुम्हें ही देने पड़ेंगे. हाँ.
वो जो 5,000 रुपए के लिए आप सोच रहे थे, why are you thinking about it? Like you were a commerce grad. MBA करने वाला रास्ता हमेशा खुला हुआ रहता ही है. Your friend Ankit, he himself went for an MBA.
Yeah.
Probably उन्होंने आपको ये कहानियाँ भी सुनाई होंगी कि यार MBA कर ले बहुत पैसे मिलेंगे. So what was happening at that time?
यार I don't know if your personality type वैसा है, but मेरा ना बहुत binary है कि मुझे जो चीज़ पसंद है मैं उसमें बहुत काम कर सकता हूँ, और जो चीज़ मुझे नहीं पसंद है मैं उसमें इतना गंदा काम करता हूँ कि मुझे कोई हायर ही नहीं करेगा. सो माई लाइफ्स बिगेस्ट वरी वॉज कि मैं कहीं कम, बिकॉज आई हैड एक्सपीरियंस, ऐसा नहीं मैंने 1-2 साल जॉब करे है, एंड आई यूज्ड टू बी सो बैड इन दोज कंपनीज कि आई वॉज ग्रेटफुल आई डिडंट गेट फायर्ड, कि मतलब आई वॉज नॉट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन दैट कंपनी, तो उन्होंने देखा नहीं और मुझे रखा. बट मैं इतना गंदा काम करता था कि I was like, यार ये तो मैं कर ही नहीं पाऊंगा. And imagine doing this for like 20 years of your life. I would just not survive it. तो वो एक मेरा personal problem था. So that means I always was worried कि मैं employable हूँ कि नहीं. मुझे लगता था मैं employable ही नहीं हूँ. So वो एक हो गया. दूसरा 2 startups fail हो गए, तो एक skill वाला doubt भी हो गया कि मुझे. So I think at the age of 25, I remember this 5,000 rupees staring at the ceiling वाला moment. I don't know if any of you have felt it. I hope none of you do. But there was that moment I remember where I felt कि मुझे कुछ भी नहीं आता है. Like genuinely that one moment in life कि you know when you learn something, 25 साल तुमने spend करे ये planet पे, तो कुछ तो आएगा. या तो तुम accounts बहुत अच्छा करते हो, या तुम marketing बहुत सही करते हो, या कुछ सही करते हो. I genuinely felt मुझे कुछ नहीं आता है. Because writing was not something that I studied. B, I didn't know I could make money from it. So it was insane. And so that's when I literally started, मतलब मैंने मेरे दोस्तों के वो बेबी शावर के SMSs लिखे हैं, मैंने रेज्यूमेस करेक्ट करे हैं, मैंने मेन्यू कार्ड्स लिखे हैं. नॉर्थ दिल्ली के रेस्टोरेंट्स के मेन्यू कार्ड्स में सारा पनीर जो था मैंने उसको कॉटेज चीज़ कर दिया. वो डिश थी 120 रुपए की, but oh ho, succulent cottage cheese and aromatic coriander seeds. मतलब वो नॉर्थ दिल्ली में जो स्टूडेंट खाएगा they'll be like मैंने तो 5 स्टार में खाया है. Because मेरे को उसके 500 रुपए मिले for writing that menu card. So that is one, that confidence you get कि ये जो मुझे छोटी चीज़ आती है उससे मुझे पैसे मिले. That dopamine is insane कि चलो at least I will be able to do this. That was the, that's why skilling is so important. I now realize कि तुम्हें एक skill build करना है, and the future is moving in that direction, right? Future is not about a stamp. The fact that we might come out of certain schools is no guarantee for the future, especially in the kind of AI first future we are going into. It's no guarantee. So the only guarantee is skill. तो वो एक बहुत सही feeling थी. So that is the professional, and then there is the personal, which is you fall in love. and you find a partner, and who's now my wife Sharanya, who sees in you what you don't see in yourself, and you don't speak about it because मैं मतलब founder मैंने तो फोड़ा है, but नहीं नहीं फोड़ा है. You are built on the shoulders of people who believe in you. And so again, my wife is someone, and my partner then was like, यार तू बहुत सही लिखता है यार, तू तो amazing writer है. I was like, हाँ मैं amazing writer हूँ, मुझे नहीं पता. And so that the way you see yourself changes, and then you become invincible.
So, Sharanya, by chance, if you get the time, go home, watch her video. She has been on this platform, she has been on this very stage, and she has been speaking. The entire time while she was speaking, I was just listening to her entire story. Amazing personality. So you've got a great support in your partner, I would say, Anuj.
She herself is a fantastic writer. So yeah.
So now again, I'll harp back to you asking you again. Why did you not go for an MBA? Is there something if you don't find value in? Is there something that a lot of people do executive MBA also after a lot of time they think that these are my skill
No, no.
gaps.
So I should fact check this because I did do an MBA.
Oh, you.
I did. So after my 2 failed startups, I went to this very obscure business school called the Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India, जो एक MBA. I don't even know if EDI बुलाते हैं उसको.
It exists, right?
It exists. हाँ, मैंने बनाया नहीं है. अहमदाबाद में है. बहुत ही सुंदर कैंपस है. जहाँ हमने 2 साल कुछ नहीं करा. Now it's a school that, it introduce, I'll tell you some things you should know about this because it's a very strange flip. ठीक है, मैं 1-2 छोटे stories बताता हूँ, बहुत मजा आएगा. तो ये कॉलेज में ना बहुत स्टूडेंट्स थे जो बिजनेस फैमिलीज से आते हैं. एनी ऑफ यू कम फ्रॉम बिजनेस फैमिलीज जिसके पेरेंट्स, ओके देयर इज वन पर्सन, बट द रेस्ट ऑफ यू डोंट लाइक मी, राइट? माय फादर इज नॉट फ्रॉम बिजनेस. तो आई वाज लाइक ओके, नौकरी चाहिए. मैं तो एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप डेवलपमेंट बिकॉज कीड़ा था और ऑल्सो कैट स्कोर ऐसा था कि कहीं और मिला नहीं. 2 ऑनेस्ट रीजंस. तो मैं पहुंच गया यहाँ पे एंड देन there are lots of these amazing folks from small cities and towns in India, right? एक वेल्लूर से आ रहा है बंदा, एक आ रहा है रायबरेली से, like all these small towns and business families and businesses ranging in turnovers from 10 crores, 100 crores, 300 crores, 500 crores and then so मैं पहले 2 हफ्ते में I was like shit, मैं यहाँ पे पहुँच गया हूँ, but मेरा ambition तो था माइका, IIM वैसी टाइप कॉलेजेस, पर मैं यहाँ पे आ गया हूँ तो ठीक है, अभी देखता हूँ, अगर मज़ा नहीं आया तो वापस कैट लिखेंगे. एंड सो देन दे वर लाइक कि यार अनुज, ये ऑब्सेशन क्या है कि MBA का कितना कमा लेते हैं. लाइक दे वर जस्ट लाइक दे वर देयर बिकॉज पेरेंट्स के पास पैसा था. वो लोग तो लिटरली 2 साल पार्टी करने आए थे, काफ़ी लोग उनमें से. एंड सो वन ऑफ द गाइज आई आस्क्ड कि यार ही वाज लाइक कि कितना बनाते यार IIM वाले. तो आई वॉज लाइक यार स्टार्टिंग पैकेजेस 24 लाख, कभी 30 लाख. तो सो द गाय इज लाइक के महीने के. तो आई वॉज लाइक नहीं भाई, साल के. तो ही वॉज लाइक नहीं, ये तो हम हफ्ते में निकाल लेते हैं. दैट जस्ट ब्लू माई माइंड. ही वॉज लाइक ये क्या मतलब 24 लाख हम हफ्ते में निकाल लेते हैं. एंड दैट वॉज अ मैसिव स्विच इन माई हेड के the way they look at money, risk, life, and the way their parents looked at risk and life, right? Literally वो जो stories हमने सब सुनी है कि सब कुछ घर वर सब डाल के उन्होंने धंधे बनाए हैं, and they are cash rich, robust small businesses. One of my dear friends, he runs this company called Satluj Motors. If you've seen the buses, like Satluj buses, so incredible business. No one knows. I mean, it's not like वो ट्विटर पे नहीं आएगा और लिंक्डइन पे उसका वो एक मोटिवेशनल पोस्ट भी नहीं आएगा, बट सॉलिड बिजनेस. तो दिस वाज वन मैसिव शिफ्ट इन माय हेड. देन द अदर जोक इज कि एक बार तुम EDI में एडमिशन लो तो फिर वैसे भी नौकरी नहीं मिलनी है, तो तुम्हें स्टार्टअप करना ही पड़ेगा. सो द वे दे ट्रेन एंटरप्रेन्योर्स इज कि इसके बाद तो कौन ही एम्प्लॉय करेगा. सो यू हैव नो चॉइस. सो द डेवलपमेंट इज बिकॉज no one wants to hire you. So those.
Did your friend complete your degree there? या फिर उसने छोड़ दी?
नहीं, उनको तो पता ही था कि उनको तो वापस ही जाना है, तो उनका तो कोई टेंशन ही नहीं था. They were just amused that IIM salaries were only this. They thought they would be making 24 lakhs a month.
Crores में कमाते होंगे. Very far away from the reality. Probably IIM वालों को देखना चाहिए about these business families where they are making.
Yeah, no, it was just an interesting perspective on how they looked at courage, right? So it gave me a lot of like courage that these guys were not the smartest in your IQ sense के उनका CAT score 99 percentile नहीं था, but they had something very street smart, very close to the consumer. It was like इसको क्या चाहिए, ओ ये आजकल इस टाइप का फैशन चल रहा है, ओ एथलीजर चल रहा है, ओ तो यहाँ पे कुछ विंडो है, एथलीजर में क्या फैब्रिक लगता है, ओ लाइक्रा लगता है, तो लाइक्रा का प्लांट लगा देते हैं. You know, like simple things like, oh, I'm seeing so many people wear these kind of shoes.
Chunky shoes.
हाँ, chunky shoes. तो chunky shoes vogue में है, तो हम इसका धंधा करते हैं. Like, oh, energy drink cool हो रहे हैं, तो so I was like, wow, these guys are very observant. They think, they watch people, trends, patterns. They understand profit very quickly. किसमें margin है, gross margins. All the things we were taught, वो बोलते हैं ना खून में है, but they've grown up with that. तो बहुत सही था मेरे लिए.
So उनके खून में था and आपने वो सीखा for those 2 years. Whatever you learned.
मैंने सिर्फ देखा और hopefully थोड़ा absorb करा. At least the risk taking I absorbed. I was like कि touchwood, life is, you know, life is kind enough that I can write that menu card and make some money to not have a survival issue. So I can take risks, and I keep reminding myself even today कि अभी हम ये size पे तुम, you know, because founders have this risk because I don't have a degree nor do I have a job. तुम अभी भी after 10 years of doing this at a certain revenue size, एक risk होता है कि अभी ये नहीं चला तो मैं क्या करूँगा?
Correct.
And the only answer to that is what I've learned is enough to start many companies or to be hired by people who want founders within their company. So I should take chances.
What gave you the most high, if I have to ask you? Was that related to money? Was that related to numbers? Was that related to views, impressions, or the kind of comments that you received, or there was some completely different?
I think the most high that I continue to get is the number of people we impact. And that is through the DMs we get. My God, ये story ने, like, you know, it's beautiful that there was a cancer survivor who, because she was bedridden for months, she would read a TTT every night before sleeping. So I was like, that is insane. I can't quantify it, but it blows my mind. It's just invaluable. The fact that we are now a 50 people team, 50 families, we have a financial contribution in 50 families. I think that is very beautiful. It impacts me on a daily basis. That shit, ye employment generation hai. So that is amazing. And the number of people we reach, right? Average reach is 20 million people every week. मतलब 20 million लोग बहुत होते हैं जिनको तुम कुछ भी कह सकते हो और वो privilege, that power of that impact is something I feel amazing about.
Do you understand the responsibility also that comes with that? Are you conscious about it?
Yeah, I mean, we are very, very conscious about it. My team is very conscious about it. They remind me more than me. I think I'm always like growth and money, and of course, as a founder, those are the very important metrics. But the team is very good. Yeah.
So, if I have to ask you now, Anuj, I'm going to open the house for questions now. One last question that I want to ask you. Any regret that you have in the kind of journey that you have had so far? 2 failed startups, MBA from not so great institute, learning a lot from the people that you've learned there, running a startup for 10 years, still not being able to be sure about the fact that tomorrow what will happen. Keeping all of this in mind, do you have a regret that you still have, or you thought that I could have done this differently in my life?
We're back to the have done list. I'm like, oh, it is insane that I'm here. Things that you can do better, you can always do better. And so it was a great moment for hopefully some or all of you. This time in your life is shit, man. I'm beginning to sound like an uncle.
We are, Anuj, come on.
I'm not.
I mean, I have accepted it.
I have not. Youth is wasted on the young is a quote you only realize when you're not young. So so that's the thing, right? Like, यार, मतलब बहुत ये window in life is short and you can do a lot. So you should do a lot because you don't have to, you don't have family, all these responsibility things. तो वो नहीं है तो अभी बहुत सारी चीज़ें कर सकते हो, वो करो. I would do. So 2 years in EDI were great. It was a party. I learned a lot from watching people, but I could have also done a lot more, which I didn't do. So वो एक learning है. The other is I can and continue to take more risks. I could have, I can, and I can continue to take more risks, which I will. That is the thing I want to change. But I can tell you guys to take more risks because you have the chance still. And risk is not doing stupid stuff, by the way, right? Like risk is not pursuing an MBA because it's cool. So don't do the cool things. The risk is to do something you really care about. And that is the thing. You do something you really care about and double down on that. I think that is the risk you can take.
Brilliant. Can we have the mic passed to the audience members?
So even in this sessions before, it has been mentioned that entrepreneurs do first and then think after, like what they have done and now what will happen. But anything we should actually think and plan before executing any idea, because we all know that idea comes to everyone, but where everyone lacks is the execution. So like to me also, I get a lot of ideas that chalo ye karte hain, nahi ye kar lena chahiye. But then somewhere when it comes to execute, I lack. So like how I can mind this gap? Like I don't understand that. There is something to be thought about before starting it.
Ideas बहुत आते हैं because ideas are cheap, and you're always scared of acting on an idea, right? It's like the idea of being fit. तो हम रोज सुबह उठ के सोचते हैं कि मुझे fit होना है. It's an idea. It's not a problem till someone beats you up or till someone mocks you and it hits you or till you get a disease because of how reckless you've been with till it becomes a problem. It's hard to act on ideas. So that is my learning, which is कि तुम idea और action अगर bridge करने जाओगे तो मुश्किल होगा, versus if there's a problem that you're facing and you want to solve that, I think it's much easier to act on that. So if that idea can become a problem that you and many others are facing, I think you will be able to act on it faster. That is one. The other is that in the early days, there is absolutely no option but to do, right? It's like creating videos. मतलब, you know, we get lots of people who are like, कि हमें create, मुझे खुद को भी ये problem है कि creator बनना है, like personal brand, right? It's so important to build a personal brand today कि LinkedIn पे अगर तुम content नहीं डाल रहे हो, even though it's damn annoying to make it, but you have to make it because otherwise the person who's making it will take your lunch. Because what are recruiters doing? They are saying, okay, share your CV and we'll go to your LinkedIn and see if you have any opinion on your industry, if you're thinking about your industry. So how do you circumvent it? The only way to do it is to actually do it. बहुत ही boring, obvious advice है, but literally put an alarm every night, whatever, the other is 1%. So 3 things I'll say. One is make it a problem. Second is actually do it. Third is do 1% of the big thing you want to do. So is there a very small stupid thing that you can do to get started? None of this is new. You know all of this. You just have to do it still. So वो एक differentiating factor है.
I think the best way is to find the problem only. Like maybe I can talk about my idea and get to know that, okay, other person can react, oh, this solves this problem. So that way.
And if you get excited about it, right? So it's like healthy food, right? It's like if you make some healthy thing and the other person's like, oh shit, yaar, meko to ye chahiye. Like the whole truth and healthy chocolates, for example. It's like, oh wow, I don't know if the founder cares about it, but I absolutely love it. I can eat a chocolate that doesn't make me feel guilty. So it's definitely solving my problem. And if that is exciting you as a founder, कि shit ये consumer इतना insanely पागल हो गया है कि ये problem solve कर दिया, then that's a great place to be as well. So you either solve your own problem or you solve a problem for someone else which excites you. I've seen a lot of small business owners get really excited about ये मेरे को तो कुछ नहीं, मेरे को तो पैसे मिल रहे हैं, but तेरा problem solve हो रहा है. So the money and the problem solving is super exciting. So whatever rocks your boat.
So when you started your Insta,
Can you hold it a little closer? Yeah.
when you started your Insta page, like what problems have you faced and how you tackled it?
When you started your Insta page,
What problems did I face? Is the problem that you will face today as well, that nobody in the world follows you and nobody in the world cares about you, and no, it's like, who are you and why should I even care? Like,
except for your 10 friends who you have forcefully made them follow.
exactly. 10 का 100 कर सकते हो, 100 के बाद you're on your own. So I think, and so the learnings are, you create first in a format that people want to consume in. Back in the day, it was tiny text stories. Today is Reels, right? So that is number one. Reels is the format you have to do. Second is, what are the empty areas that you see, right? Right now you see lots of personal finance, you see lots of health, but do you see, like for example, there's a YouTube channel called AVTV. I don't know if you follow AVTV. It's a very fun channel, which does business case studies in a very funny manner. Like they do sketches about businesses. So find a space which you can be good at. And then third is every day, just show up and put out, show up and put out. So I think those were the three things that even we sought. I used to just we put out 8 posts a day every day, even today. And we've been doing it for the last 10 years. So if you see our Instagram, you'll see 22,000 posts. So yeah, some people take 800 posts to get to 4 million. We took 22,000.
But that begs a question in my mind is, so are you in favor of quantity over quality?
No, it's what works for you, right? So for an independent creator, they won't need this. People will get bored of seeing one creator so many times, but when we are telling stories, people don't mind it because they're bite-sized, they're on different topics, themes. It's like a magazine, daily magazine. So.
Thank you very much, Anuj,
Thank you so much, Paul.
sharing and be so candid.
Really appreciate.
you know,
Thank
in
you,
your
everyone. It
approach.
was
Thank
pretty
you.
amazing.